Hello, welcome to PlayStation Access and welcome back to the Tuesday Checklist, the weekly video where we just chill out on the sofa and chat about games for a bit. Destiny 2 Forsaken arrived last week, and if you've seen any of the build-up, you'll know that it includes the demise of a much-loved character, which got us thinking about other video game deaths we'll simply never get over. Let's start with Nathan, who, well, he's not taking this brilliantly.
The death that I refuse to get over is Cayde 6 in Destiny 2 Forsaken. Destiny 2 Forsaken's been out for a week at this point. I've not played any of it. I might not, I don't know, because I'm very angry. The whole marketing for Destiny 2 Forsaken was that my favourite character, the reason I've really been enjoying Destiny for the last couple of years, isn't going to be in it anymore, and I don't like it. You know, and I'm not sure if there's somewhere I can write, or if there's, you know, if I tweet enough about it, maybe exactly, then maybe we can get things changed. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Petition, Nate.
Yeah, people start petitions for everything.
Petition.
Yeah.
Change just the whole, not the ending this time. Change the whole game.
Yeah, exactly. Just change all of it. All the marketing has to go. The basics of the story have to go. What upsets me is that I know if I play. Probably because I will, when I play Forsaken, it'll all make sense in a way and I'll probably enjoy it, and then I'll have to come to terms with it in some way, but without having played it, I can just think what I want.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't play it, does he really die?
Exactly, I'm not sure, but he did in that trailer I watched.
Yeah, but let's just unwatch, that was fan fiction.
Exactly.
He's still alive for you.
Do you know the sad thing about these updates is that, like, even if you go back to Destiny 2 and don't play the Forsaken stuff, it just updates everything. So he's no longer there in the tower for you to go and speak to anymore.
Do you know, well, I should probably explain. Cayde 6 is Nathan Fillion's character in Destiny 2, and he was in Destiny as well. And, you know, I think it's fair to say that, you know, Destiny was this enormous, ambitious project, was trying to take first-person shooting in a direction it hadn't gone before, shared world activities, loads of multiplayer stuff, loot was really important, perpetually kind of on, reason to play it every day if you were like me, and I think Dave, you as well. And what it didn't have so much, you know, people were like, how do you fit a story into this world? And, like, I think Bungie have been really open about the fact they struggled with it. Cayde 6 was this incredible, it was basically just Nathan Fillion, but it made everyone just like love the game because he was just it's like a cheat character putting Nathan Fillion in your game. He's like just charismatic and funny and brilliant.
I do remember him coming in and just being like, wow.
A breath of fresh air.
This guy is just such a character, just a real character.
Yeah.
Like just instantly, and it is Nathan Fillion, but you just instantly hear his voice, his first line of dialogue. You know what?
And you know they've written it all for him as well. You know what I mean? I don't think that Nathan Fillion just improvised the whole. So they you know, they conceived of a character, and what it did was like it took a game I was playing anyway, and I was, you know, playing every day and really enjoying, and it just gave it this extra element which lots of people had wanted, and I had, you know, I was like, I was going to play the game whatever happened, and the fact that it had a character I loved in it and a storyline that I was becoming attached to was like a bonus for me. And so to have got here and from now to go away, it's sore. And it particularly stings because I am of an age where I lived through the cancellation of Firefly, you know? Yeah. So it feels like this has happened to me before. And it's not, I don't think it's all right for people to play with my heart like this.
We should stress that we're filming this on the day that Destiny Forsaken is coming out.
Yeah.
So we haven't, I mean, I'm going to play it and I haven't played it yet. So maybe
you get to the end.
I'm excited to see how they do this.
This is a snapshot of time as well, isn't it?
He isn't really dead.
I mean, that is a possibility, though they have, you know, I think Bungie have spoken about that fairly categorically.
But what about the light, the tower, the light? I was dead and then a ghost came and made me alive.
Don't make me get Bife in here, man, to explain everything to you, because he will. But yeah, I think there's reasons. So look, you know...
Well, I refuse to believe it.
I don't think I've ever seen a character held up, you know, sacrificed like this. You know what I mean? In pre-release stuff. You know, it's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I refuse. I refuse to ever get over this. I just won't.
So a character death that I can't get over, I was going to talk about Aerith from Final Fantasy VII, but obviously that's really obvious and everyone knows I would pick that. So I'm going to talk about the other one that's really obvious and everyone knows I would pick, and that is the boss from the end of Metal Gear Solid 3. I've told you about this before, I'm sure. in another video, maybe another Tuesday checklist.
Someone's going to point it out.
Maybe you'll just copy and paste the other Tuesday checklist where I talked about this.
People only point out when I mention the same game twice. Rob's absolutely fine.
But then I can't. We're talking about deaths I can't get over, and I can't not mention the boss because it was incredibly traumatic when I first played it. The boss is Big Boss's mentor. Big Boss being the original soldier who was cloned to make Solid Liquid and Solid as Snake. So Metal Gear Solid 3 is a prequel to the Metal Gear Solid set in the Cold War.
There's a snake
in
man.
the
Jeez.
It's set in the 60s in the Cold War, and it tells the story of how Big Boss becomes Big Boss. And he starts out in the game, he's not attained the title of Big Boss yet.
Who gives him that title, by the way? It's not very imaginative, is it?
It's
Sorry.
the US government give him the title after he completes the mission of Metal Gear Solid 3. And that mission is ultimately to kill the boss, who is his mentor. The boss is like a legendary soldier from World War II who, in the world of Metal Gear Solid, pretty much won the war for the US. Her and her amazing unit of like soldiers. She's got this unit who basically act as the boss characters you fight in Metal Gear Solid 3. She's the ruler of them. The game sets it up at the beginning like she has betrayed the US and defected over to Russia, and she acts as like the main antagonist throughout the entire game, even though she has this quite close relationship with Big Boss, the main character, who is not Big Boss at this point. He's Naked Snake is his code name as he goes into the game. But anyway, as it transpires at the end, it was all a setup. She didn't defect at all. Her defection to Russia was planned by the US government for various reasons that I will not go into here. The crux of it being, at the end, you have to fight her. She's the final boss of the game. And it's
Big Boss, you might say. But not.
Don't confuse things, Dave, for crying out loud. It's a really serious and poignant moment, and you're ruining it.
Sorry.
Anyway, you have to kill her, and obviously there's a really strong emotional attachment between these two characters, and a big theme that runs throughout the game is there such thing as a true enemy? In political terms, enemies change all the time. And so there's this whole theme of, we have to put our personal relationship, this strong emotional bond we have together, we have to put that aside because right now we're on opposing sides of this conflict politically. We're soldiers, we have to do what we're ordered to do, and we have to do our jobs, and their job basically is to be against each other at this point. And obviously you win, and there's a cutscene where the boss is lying dead, already nearly dead, and it sort of pulls out and you're standing over her with the gun pointing, and then the cutscene stops and it makes you press R1 to pull the trigger and to kill the boss. And it's just, I was there for ages, like I didn't want to do it. This fight is set in this beautiful field of white flowers, and when the boss dies, it's a bit of one of the weird Metal Gear Solid slightly paranormal moments where the white flowers all turn red, and it's just incredibly sad. And the music is incredibly sad. Snake is incredibly sad. The boss's horse, it definitely is crying. The horse is crying. That's the worst bit. The horse is really sad. The horse makes a noise that I can only describe as a cry. The horse,
if you had to describe it audibly.
It's a neigh, but a crying neigh.
What would that sound like? Come on, let's please one go.
And then we can compare it to the real noise.
That's great.
And then at the very end of the game, it's revealed to Snake, he's earned the title of Big Boss, he's completed his mission, and it's revealed to him the truth, that in fact the boss didn't defect, that in fact she's a hero, but that no one will ever know her true story, and she will go down in history as a war criminal.
They always do that,
even though she made the ultimate sacrifice for her country, and it ends with Big Boss standing over the boss's grave and he does his salute and one tear just falls down his face. And it's that moment that creates him into this sort of, he starts out as a patriot and now he hates the American government, and this is what sort of acts as the catalyst for him becoming a sort of villain. You can't really call him a villain after you play Metal Gear Solid 3 because it's got these whole themes of, is there any such thing as a true villain? It's just different points of view. The Big Boss goes from here to become sort of the main looming antagonist across the rest of the Metal Gear series. So it's just very interesting and a very poignant moment, a very sad death that I will never get over, I don't think.
So character death I couldn't get over. Right, well, we don't know what we're all picking, right? That's the whole point of this. I don't know what your decisions are.
I screech and scream spoiler and run from the room.
No. It's just that mine is a character called Fortune from Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, come on now.
I know it's a lot of MGS.
This is an interesting choice.
I originally played this when it first came out on PS2. I had to rent it from the local video shop in Abergavenny. And I don't know why in particular, but I just thought Fortune's character was so incredibly tragic. And I've been dying to have a great excuse to talk about her. So she's a member of sort of the bad guys. And the idea is she's just so sad. She's lost all her family, her partner, her mother, her father. She even miscarried her unborn baby, and she just cannot die in battle. All she wants, and every time you engage her in battle, it's just, are you gonna be the one? Can you kill me? Can you free me? But they call her Fortune or Lady Luck because no matter what, every bullet you fire at her will miss her. It'll just miss. Every single one. You set off a machine gun and it'll all miss. You throw a grenade at her and it just happens to be a dud and it'll just never blow up. And she even uses a railgun as well, which in theory, it should be too dangerous to use, but for some reason, she's so lucky that she's absolutely fine. She's just this incredibly tragic character who actually teams up with Vamp, who is another incredible character from the series. And together they're quite an amazing duo. You have kind of a first battle with her quite early on-ish, and you can't defeat her. You just discover that every shot you make is missing, you're completely confused why. And the whole boss battle is actually you just lasting long enough to get in the elevator and get the hell out of there, because you can't defeat her. As the game then progresses, you're sort of coming towards the end, and Arsenal Gear has now been unleashed. And after a bit of a fight between her and Snake, because she believes Snake killed her father, he was on the tanker, the original tanker mission. She blames Snake for his death. In fact, that's one of the reasons she's going after Raiden. And then when she finally sees him, she's like, you're not the guy I thought you were. I'm after Snake, Solid Snake. They've had a fight and she's defeated Snake. Right. So she's ready to take him in and be like, I've done it. Whole lot of story happens and Ocelot appears, because he always appears, and shoots her. And it hits. Actually hits her heart, but she's Lady Luck. I think it's called dextrocardia. Her heart's on the other side of her chest. So although he hits her, she's just absolutely cannot believe she's been hit. And he then reveals the reason that she has been so impervious to any damage on the battlefield is actually an electromagnetic device that was planted on her by the Patriots. And this is the thing.
I love Metal Gear Solid 2.
I love it. It's actually my favourite Metal Gear. It is my favourite Metal Gear.
It's the most Hideo Kojima of the Metal Gear.
It's mental.
It's him going mad.
He's had all the donuts. The sugar is just coursing through his veins. So obviously then, it turns out Ocelot now has this device, so everyone is trying to shoot him and it's not possible. She is starting to slowly die and he gets in Arsenal Gear and we've got all the snakes there, Raiden is there, and he just unleashes Arsenal Gear's arsenal. And then it turns out she manages to get to her feet and she actually manages to deflect every single one of the missiles that Arsenal Gear then sends. It's like her last dying breath is she manages to literally bend every single missile away from the four of them. And it turns out maybe it wasn't this electromagnetic thing that she had. Potentially she did actually have these powers. And literally as she manages to save everybody, like her last dying breath, she's like, I can see my family. And just, that's it. She's just such a good character. It's just so tragic as a character.
Brilliant, that. I've forgotten all about that.
For some reason, out of Metal Gear Solid 2, I absolutely just homed in on Fortune, just as a female character in Metal Gear anyway. Woman of colour as well. Just an incredibly tragic character, someone who just wants to die and cannot, no one can land the shot on her. But that's the only way she wants to go out, is on the battlefield. It's peak Kojima for me. Fortune and Vamp.
Yeah, you made it like one well, we can't make any jokes about it.
Yeah, I can't. Sorry. Yeah, it's actually quite serious.
It's too well told. A very well told story.
Unbelievable. You got any jokes, Dave?
No, never.
Wow.
Right, I'm going to give you a bonus answer within my answer, because the first thing that sprung to mind when thinking of a character death that really got me was Elena in Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, who doesn't actually die, but she pretends to die. And do you remember this?
Yeah.
And that I think I spoke to you about Rob, and you were like, obviously she did. You knew straight away that she was fine. But I absolutely bought it. And also, it's Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. I was thinking at some point there's a very high possibility that one of my favourite characters is going to die. Is it going to be Nathan Drake? Is it going to be Elena Fisher? Is it going to be someone else? I mean, thankfully it didn't happen, and that's why this is a bonus entry.
What's your real answer?
My real answer is a character. I think it's a game that none of you have played, so enjoy this. The game is called Valiant Hearts: The Great War, which is a Ubisoft game, one of their kind of like smaller games. What?
It's not the dog, is it?
Oh, now you want to know. So you remember there was a dog in it.
I remember the trailer's really good for this game.
The trailer is really good for this game. The game is really good. It's a kind of a simpler game. It's 2D. It's kind of hand-drawn aesthetic. The game is set in the Great War in World War I. It follows 4 characters and a dog, and their kind of viewpoint on what's happening. I am going to spoil the end when I talk about this. So if you don't want to know how it ends, I do really suggest you play it. It's quite a short game. It's very moving. It's very well done.
Let's go then, Nath.
Yeah. Okay. Right, so I just talked to the end. So if you don't want to know, then stop. Skip ahead now. So it follows the main kind of character that you follow, or one of the first ones you follow, is a guy called Emile, and he is a French guy who is called up to go to war. He's actually captured by the Germans during the war, and whilst he's captured, whilst he's a prisoner of war, he's made to be a chef for the Germans on the front line. And whilst there, he randomly gets kind of like put in the same battalion as his son-in-law, who is a German, who was conscripted, and against his will, he was before the war started, France kicked out the German citizens from France in preempting the war. The end of the game is Emile sees Carl escaping, and he thinks he sees Carl killed, which makes him incredibly upset, because it's his friend, but also it's the husband of his daughter and the father to his grandson. And he is fighting on the front line, this time for France. He's escaped as well, but he's fighting with the French. And this French lieutenant, or whoever's in charge on the front line, keeps sending the soldiers into the line of fire of a machine gun. They're just getting mown down. This guy just keeps sending them out, and they're just being sent to their death. And Emile decides that this is absolutely madness, and so he bonks the lieutenant on the head with a shovel, which inadvertently kills him. And so he is kind of like court-martialed. And the end scene is him walking through the trenches with like a shackle around his ankle, off to be shot by his own people for really saving their lives, many of their lives, because this lieutenant had gone mad, and thinking that his son-in-law is dead. And I can tell you that Carl isn't dead, and that's as a kind of a happy ending. But Emile doesn't know this, and he walks off. The end scene is him walking to his death, narrating a letter that he sent home, and he remembers or imagines his family there as he's walking to his death. There's really, really sad piano music, and the kicker is that the very final scene after he's been killed is his family and the dog stood by his grave in a field full of many, 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 many graves, and it's very, very moving. and I feel quite emotional now talking about it. Actually, it's really stuck with me.
Does a dog cry?
The dog doesn't cry, Rob.
If the dog cried, Rob, what noise would
What? Yeah.
No, we're asking Dave this!
But the dog doesn't cry, luckily. So, but he does have a little neckerchief, I think, or something, if I remember rightly.
This video, who would have thought that choosing this subject would have made everyone a bit sad?
I know.
Again,
Well, Dave's actually played this one. Yeah, Dave's played this one.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about it though.
But I do remember something about Metal Gear. I remember that Nath wasn't very good at it. That was all unexpectedly emotional, wasn't it? Help us recover by letting us know in the comments what character deaths hit you the hardest. Be careful of spoilers out there, kids. Give us a like if you enjoyed this video, hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on anything from the world of PlayStation.
For the players.